Hey everyone, Louis from Spectora again. Calculating how much to charge on your home inspections might just be the single biggest decision you make for your business early on. Home inspectors need to find that sweet spot that's both competitive and profitable. You also want to think long-term about creating a pricing model that is sustainable and scalable as you grow. Remember that pricing is always going to be specific to your market, your competition, and you. That being said, here's some things that we've learned from our Spectora home inspectors. There's basically two broad ways to set your prices, and the first is going to be your good old-fashioned flat rate. Flat rate is very common with new inspectors. With flat rate pricing, you set a single price for your home inspection, and then you set additional prices for add-on services. This model is popular because it's very easy to market, it's very budget friendly, and also it makes it easier to give quotes online or via phone call. I said that it was budget friendly, and what I mean by that is that you can forecast your income based on a set number of home inspections every month or every week. One of the advantages of flat rate pricing is that inspectors can set a pretty low base rate so that they can be competitive, but then they can make up for that by having add-on services that have additional costs. Just like a new construction home might start at a very low price that's below market, the typical cost of add-ons will bring that price up to parity with the market. You can have a similar model with your home inspection company. Some of the most common fees that we see are add-on services for additional things like radon testing, additional fees if there's a long distance to travel to the home, or additional fees if there's uncommon features in a home like a fireplace or a pool or additional rooms in a home. One of the criticisms of charging a flat rate is that over time you may outgrow that model, and here's what I mean by that. Not every home is the same, so as you graduate up to larger homes or more high value homes, you could still be charging the same price as smaller or older homes that you're spending more time and more effort inspecting. It will start not to seem efficient. That leads into the second major model, which is pricing by square footage. A good rule here is to start with a number that you want and work backwards from there. In 2015, Rocket Mortgage reported that the average square footage of a home being sold in America was 2,867 square feet. 2,687 square feet. So if we use that as our kind of baseline average and you wanted to make about $500 per home inspection, then you could figure that your price per square foot would be more or less 15 cents. I asked a lot of our Spectora home inspectors on Instagram what pricing model they preferred. About 65% of them came back and said that they use a square footage pricing model, although most of them said they will also use flat rates for kind of add-on fees like distance or additional services. There's probably two other important things to mention when you're considering pricing. The most obvious is, what are your competitors charging? Now, I'm not saying that you should try to always come in cheaper than your competitors. In fact, the number one advice I got from our home inspectors was to not come in too cheap. So instead, spend an afternoon going to home inspector websites, calling them, getting quotes, getting a handle on their pricing. You want to make sure to ask as many questions as you reasonably and professionally can. Ask about distance fees, fees for additional services. If they do charge a flat rate, you can divide that by the average square footage of a house. That'll give you a ballpark idea of what they're charging per square foot. You can put these in a spreadsheet, that way you can calculate the average, the most expensive, the least expensive, then you have the full range, the bottom, the middle, and the top of the market. Sometimes when you do this, you might see a price point that is missing in the market that maybe you can step in and fill that role. Other times you may just want to be able to justify your prices to your customers and your clients by saying, hey, this is the average price of the home inspection in the area based on everything that I know. Next thing is to know your costs as much as possible. Now, your costs are a moving target, which is why you want to start tracking your costs early so that within a year or so, you have a really solid idea of what your average monthly costs are. Now, in reality, it might take a few years to get a handle on this because of your growth year after year. Your business will take a completely different shape in your second year and in your third year. Eventually, though, you will get it down to a science and you'll be able to put a dollar value on the cost of each individual home inspection, and that's going to be really useful. Your inspection software, your gas, your office expenses, those are sort of reoccurring monthly expenses. Those are super easy to track, right? What gets a little bit harder to track, but it's super important, are your one-time and your annual costs. I'm talking about things like equipment, membership, certification, fees that you have to pay to a local governing body, insurance fees. Even if you only need to purchase those things once a year or even every other year, you need to account for them in your budget. Knowing your cost per inspection is really important if you decide to grow your company and you want to bring on an office administrator or another inspector. You need to know exactly how much of your revenue per inspection is eaten up by just the regular cost of doing business. That will help you set a price for a second inspector that is profitable for both you and them. It'll also keep you from kind of boxing yourself in and setting a price that only works as long as you're a solo inspector. You might not have come here shopping for home inspection software, but I gotta mention that the Spectora app will help you do all of this. We have an entire metrics section that will help you break down your costs, your revenue, where your leads are coming from. Our app is also designed to work really well if you have multiple inspectors working at your company or an administrator. You can do things like pay splits. You can have user roles so that people can be doing scheduling, other people can be doing inspections. We also have a lot of tools to give you maximum flexibility when you're looking at pricing. You can price by square footage. You could do different rates for different add-ons. We even have things like you can add a modifier based on the zip code of the home address. Hey, I hope that was helpful to any of the new inspectors or people going through training out there. If you're a veteran inspector, share some of your best tips for setting your pricing for home inspections. I know that a lot of people I talk to on social media say, hey, I've made every mistake in the book. If I could go back in time, here's what I would do differently. You can do that now for the next inspector. Thanks everyone, bye.